Good afternoon and welcome to the Town of Highland Beach Town Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 17th, and it's now 1:30, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. If we could please have the roll call.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Here.
Commissioner Peters,
Present.
Commissioner David,
Present.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Present.
Mayor Moore,
Present.
Town Manager Labadie,
Present.
and Town Attorney Trisivia.
And if we could please rise for the pledge, and after the pledge, a moment of silence for Israel. The United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will get those switched up. Sorry about that. I didn't say.
Will we pass the test?
Thank you, everybody. We do have one suggested change for the agenda, and that is to add a resolution in support of expressing the town's support for the state of Israel. Like to add it as a presentation 5A, and to move what is currently 5A to 5B. Any other changes to the agenda?
No.
If no other changes, we have a motion.
I move we accept the agenda as adjusted. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so the first item is resolution number 2023-032. And this is a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Highland Beach expressing the town's support of the state of Israel and providing for an effective date. We could have a motion to accept the resolution.
Make a motion to accept
So we're first discussing this resolution to express the town's support of the state of Israel.
Mhm.
So it's 2023-032 is the resolution number. Sorry, Sue, if you could restate your motion.
Did you finish the motion? Are you making the motion? Here it is, here it is.
Yeah, making a motion that we accept the resolution number 2023-032.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we go to resolution number 2023-030, which is a resolution of the Town Commission of Highland Beach ratifying the selection, appointments, and terms of office of members of the planning board and providing for an effective date. So for the planning board, we have one vacancy that was created because of Brian DeMoss is stepping down and actually leaving Highland Beach.
Mhm.
And so we actually have two individuals that have submitted their names for the appointment. We have Eve Rosen of Braemar Isle, and we also have David Axelrod of Toscana. And we have David here. So David, if you want to come up to the podium and tell us a few things.
Okay, first of all, thank you for inviting me. David Axelrod, I live at 3740 South Ocean Boulevard, and I've lived there for 18 years. As you all know, or some of you know, because I've met some of you, I'm a retired gynecologist, and the first question you're gonna ask is, why is a retired gynecologist, what's his qualifications for going to the planning board? Well, 7.5 years ago, if you'd asked me that question, I would have said, I have no idea. I was the only candidate and they were appointed me. Well, after 6 years on the planning board, with 3 years as the chairman, I think I'm got qualified right now to be on the planning board. I've learned the words like setbacks, building heights, alternative marine facilities. I've learned all these words. In fact, it's interesting because the last planning board meeting, they did discuss the alternative, facility planning, marina facilities. And it was interesting because I think that started in my last year on the planning board when we had a situation with pilings. And so that went on with that. I've also taken, believe it or not, a rarity, because this happened way back when, a continuing planning board education course. I took that many years ago. It was interesting to learn how much more the planning board should be doing than it really doesn't do right now. I continue, I'm now on the code enforcement board. I did that, the only reason I did that is I wanted to be active with continuing the thing. However, that being said, I would like to say that I'd much prefer looking to the future than I would fining for the past. So saying that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. So,
Commissioner Goldberg, do you want to start? Do you have any questions?
Well, thank you so much, David. It's nice to meet you. And thank you for the service and the support that you've given this community. You have a wonderful background and certainly appear to have meet every criteria for what we need. So I thank you for putting your name before us today.
thank you.
I have nothing.
Yeah, David, I'd like to thank you too. I mean, we look forward for what the planning board gives us with information, recommendations, and we thank you for that. And probably, I see you're on the board at Toscana, or once, it's probably harder on the board at Toscana than being on the planning
Actually,
board.
after 17 years on the board, I decided I had enough.
Well, God bless.
What I did do was turned around and joined the finance committee, because the finance committee basically has
That.
approved everything that the board does.
All
So
right, beautiful.
I stayed active there, but after 17 years, I figured it's time to give somebody else a chance.
Well, God bless you. All right, thank you, David.
I don't have any questions, David.
Vice Mayor?
Well, I've watched you on many meetings, running and chairing the committee, and I think you did an outstanding job, and I thank you for your part.
Yes, and I feel the same way. Thank you so much for your volunteerism, many years of volunteerism to Highland Beach. And I also see you walking up and down A1A.
Well, I
Um,
hate to tell you, haven't seen me in a while because I tore my meniscus.
Oh,
And
no.
So I'm on injured reserve for golf and walking.
Oh, no. Well, I hope you
Hopefully, in
get
about
back
2
up to
weeks
it.
I'll be back.
Oh, good. Good. I would like to see you out there again, passing you
Oh,
by.
one other question, by the way, I want to make quick mention is at the end of the planning board, somebody mentioned that my wife was very ill. It was not during the meeting, but it was afterwards, and I was notified. My wife's perfectly healthy. Just want to let you know that she is healthy.
Oh, well, we're glad to hear that. And, okay. Any other discussion?
No, I just would like to know, was Eve Rosa notified to come to this meeting?
Yes, she was made aware to come to the meeting.
And did she say whether she was coming or not?
I will have to check with Jackie, but I'll get back with you on that. But she was aware of the meeting.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
David.
very much. I mean, I guess my recommendation is David's here and very qualified and
Right. Got the qualifications and
mhm,
Now, there's only one position.
only one
There's only
position.
vacancy.
And unfortunately, it will create a vacancy for the code enforcement board, but hopefully we can fill that. So.
Okay.
But. So do we want to go on?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good with
Certainly.
appointing Axelrod? Do-
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Thank you, David.
Commissioner Peters
thank
with
you.
Axelrod, yes?
Yes. Thank you, David.
David did a fine job, but I really would have preferred Eve Rosa.
Okay. Commissioner, Vice Mayor Stern?
I think, in looking at both, I was very impressed with both of them, and David being here and she not without a reason, clearly that would tilt me and go in favor of David.
I'm in favor of Mr. Axelrod as well. So do we, we'll, do a motion and
You do.
then do a motion and then,
Motion to.
okay, so if we could have a motion for the resolution?
I have a question.
Okay.
If I might. Did Eve Rosen indicate that she was withdrawing her application?
Yes, she did. She resigned from the Board of Adjustment and Appeals Board and applied for the Planning Board.
And she's still running, but she just didn't appear.
Correct. She was, Jackie confirmed that she was notified twice via email and on a phone call.
Any other questions? No, if we could have a motion for the resolution? Or, so, we have the resolution and then we specify the name that we'll be
Yes.
appointing?
Yes.
Okay, so whoever's going to make the motion for the resolution, please specify the name of the individual that we'll be appointing. I can do it. Okay, so I move we adopt resolution number 2023-030, appointing Mr. David Axelrod to the planning board.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Or
Aye.
should we do a roll call since we're not?
You can do a roll call.
Okay, let's do a roll
Okay,
call.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Yes,
Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes,
Commissioner Peters,
Yes,
and Commissioner David.
Yes,
Motion carries. Thank you.
Motion carried.
may also add that I think it would be important that we encourage Ms. Rosen to apply for another board of qualifications, very strong, and we'd love to have her on one of the boards.
I would agree completely. I'm very impressed with the qualification. And I hope that she continues to support the town and serving on code or another opening that we have available.
Yes, absolutely. I would totally agree. Her resume is also very impressive and her volunteerism for the town is very impressive. So I hope she does continue. Okay, next item, public comments. Any public comments? Moving on to announcements, board vacancies. Board of Adjustment and Appeals, 2 vacancies for a 3-year term. And 1 vacancy for an unexpired term ending September 21st, 2024. Upcoming meetings, we have November 1st at 11 a.m., the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board regular meeting. And then November 7th, we have our next Town Commission meeting at 1:30. And there are no board action reports. Next item is ordinances, resolution number 2023-031. And this has to do with the resolution for the referendum for the sanitary sewer lining rehabilitation project. Asking the residents to approve a $3.5 million project and potentially issuing bonds in support of the project.
Well, with that, real quickly, the background, we did make contact with the engineers and they're comfortable with the 3.5 million, so we don't need to change that number.
Okay, that's great. So this is considered our first read, correct? This
First
is
read.
officially our first read. We have 2 reads. for
Well,
this.
actually, this is, I stand corrected. The other 2 have 2 reads. This is a resolution, so you don't have to take action today if you don't want, and you can postpone this one and approve it with the second read of the other 2 if those move forward. But, or you could approve the resolution today, either one. But if you want more time, you don't have to until the second read to hit this resolution, because there's only 1 read of a resolution, 2 reads of an ordinance. And the reason why we do the ordinance is because we are amending the charter or proposing to amend the charter, where a resolution is, we're not amending, we're just asking for authorization per one of the spending provision.
So are you saying if we adopt this resolution, then the action that we take today is official? It
Yep.
makes the referendum for
Correct,
this item
correct.
official?
Yep.
So you're just cautioning us, we
If you,
could
if you
pass,
choose, want more time to do them all at once and do it with the second read, you can, or you could do it today.
or we could
either-
do this one today and it would make this official.
Correct.
Do
Sorry
we
about
all understand that? Because that is kind of confusing.
do.
Yes, that was my bad, sorry.
yes.
I don't see any real point in putting this off.
Yeah.
It needs to be done. Lining the sewers has been put off for at least 3 years already. And this needs to happen, so I wouldn't put this off at all.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't put it up. Price is just gonna go up and up and up.
So it's my impression, it's not that we are, this is still going to be a referendum.
Yes.
Correct.
So the urgency, whether it's today or subsequent to today, is not going to move the project further. It's just going to officially put it on as a referendum, which would limit any further discussion if we would have. So is that right so far?
My guess, and I will venture out a little bit, Counselor, but I would say with the last couple of meetings, we put ourselves out there that we have to be cautious on how we educate the public on this item moving forward. So I think we already hit that trigger when we said we're considering this. Now we can't send stuff to residents once we said we're considering
understand.
this.
Okay.
Vice Mayor, any comment?
Yes, I think we will go forward with it today.
I would agree. So just to remind everyone, the verbiage for the referendum is on page 18. And what we discussed previously is we really don't have much wiggle room because of all the bond language that must be included. Last time, we did make the modification to add the word rehabilitation before the word project to make it clear that it's a rehabilitation project, which might include repairing brakes if necessary, but generally it's going to be a lining project. And just to remind everyone, how old are these sewers? Marshall?
Some of these were put in, these are the original, some of these were put in late sixties. A good portion of what we were hoping to line are clay pipes. Those aren't used anymore in modern civil engineering. So we want to make sure we line those before they start breaking, because once they start collapsing, you can't line a collapsed pipe. So we're hoping to line these so we can avoid an open excavation. So as we discussed before, just to give, again, more background, if this referendum doesn't, there's a possibility that it doesn't, but if it doesn't go forward, then we are in a break and repair under emergency scenarios. That's how we're going to fix it moving forward, is we have to wait for it to break. And then we will be fixing as it happens.
And then if it breaks under a road, what does that entail?
Carrying the road out and fixing it. And again, this is, we say townwide, this does include our neighborhoods as well. So this is all of our sewer system being lined outside of your house leads. Your house leads or your unit leads are on private property. That is the responsibility of the property owners. This is everything that's in the public right of way or our easements for collection. So, yeah, most of it's, there's some old cast iron in there that's tuberculating. What that means is just starting to build up on the interior, kind of like a clogged artery, if you will. So it's kind of, we need to clean that out, line that pipe so we can protect that integrity. So again, we videoed it. We promised we'll start showing the video. We're trying to put that together now. But we can put it online if people want to watch several hours of a video camera through your sewers. You can get an idea of where things are plugged or broken, but it does, that's kind of what we did. So we did, the commission did give me authorization to do that study. Well, that was probably 3-4 years ago. So we started videoing it and cleaning the system. So we've gone through and cleaned the entire system as part of the lining project, getting this video and made the determination that, lining is the proper strategy. We were beyond the useful life or design life. I want to say useful, but the design life. Lining is a quite affordable way to fix them versus, an open excavation where we're going to have to open excavation with dewatering, because we get a lot of groundwater up into the trenches. So it makes it difficult to replace. We had hoped at one point in time to use some of the rescue dollars, but the cost of the project on the bid during, was that 21, late 21? I'm looking at Jeff just to kind of think of, but it was like late 21 and everybody overbid the amount of the grant dollars. And then we decided to scale it a little bit, bring the project scope back, and nobody bid on the project. So we're hoping with time, we're aiming that if we do all of it, that I would have the ability to propose the benefits of an SRF project, doing the lining all at once or something of that method, which the SRF, which is a state revolving grant program, which gives you low interest loans, like 1-2% loans to do infrastructure projects under the Clean Water Act. But it does require bonds being sold, which requires the pledge of the ad valorem full faith. That's why you have this long language in the referendum, because we have to also authorize financing. It could be that we get into the project, we do something different, which you can totally do, but this gives us all of the options in the language that's being proposed. And we're requesting it pursuant to the charter without amending it, just asking for the funding.
And then this is our number one project that we're gonna have the lobbyists help us get appropriations.
Correct.
again.
Mr. Rosenstein said that that's what they'll be helping with us this year and next, is to get monies for this or other maybe the other lift station. If this isn't attractive to the legislator, then we would do that. But this is a very great project. And sometimes SRF has rankings and loan applications. Sometimes there's certain forgivenesses. Legislator can really help move the needle on those things as well. So all of those are on the table, but regardless, it's over 350. So that's where we're here today. Yep.
And you had an engineer say that 3.5 million is a reasonable maximum amount. for this
Baxter
project.
Woodman did the design. It started off as Matthews Engineering before they were bought by Baxter Woodman, but same staff. So Baxter Woodman did the design and all the cleaning, oversight the cleaning with Shenandoah. We had that bid for about 90,000 to do the cleaning and videoing. Baxter designed it. So this is a shelf-ready project, means it's designed, ready to go. And basically they went back through that on par with other similar projects in South Florida and felt that the bid unit amounts that are in their design align with what's being bid today with a comfortable contingency, 25%, that fits in that $3.5 million range easily. Like, we could scale it back a touch, but we just don't know where this goes. So we want to keep it at 3.5 is a good number.
And everyone would agree sewer pipes being over 50 years old, that they have exceeded their life expectancy.
Well beyond the design capacity. And we did see a lot of I&I in the videos. So they are starting to get little pinholes and joint links that, you know, is indicating that in time, we're gonna have to do something more. This is the solution, the most cost-effective solution. The other solution is just digging it all out and putting all new pipe in. Nobody really wants to do that. Folks here don't like disruptions on the day-to-day basis. So something like that, following an A1A project, people would be really upset with us. So this is at least intrusive. We could do it at night. It goes from manhole to manhole. We're out of the roadway. It's pretty, it's the least invasive method to do this.
So I'm also in favor. Our pipes are beyond their life expectancy. Sounds like this is a prime project to get some low interest financing if we need to. Hopefully we'll get an appropriation. So I'm also in favor. So if we're ready, I'd like to open it for public comment.
I have a question.
Okay.
For Marshall here. I see in section 2, the issuance of the bonds. There is a blank for the number of years. This is referencing the bonds. Do you see that on the 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4, the fifth
tradition-
line?
Yep. Traditionally, you put in 30, unless you guys are scared away, but that's usually a max. Unless you're a rural community in America doing some of the rural programs have 40-year infrastructure. And it's very common right now with some of this broadband out in like Nebraska, right? They can, the rural associations will give you a 40-year. If I came to a 30-year, you'd all give me a strange look like the mayor's doing at the moment, saying, why would we do 30 years? We don't need to, but it gives us that max amount to do it. So we can go up to 30, which is pretty common for large scale infrastructure, but on this cost and our financial position, correct, David? In the back, finance directors here, we probably don't need a 30-year. We could probably look at a 15, which is another common number. So 30 years is common to just put that in there. Skip left it blank because he didn't know if you had a particularly strong desire to keep a smaller number in there, but usually it's a 30-year, no more than 30. You'd get the discretion on issuance, what that is.
Then there's also in that paragraph, it refers to, well, my question is that since it's supposed to also cover incidentals and the necessary reserves, pay costs of issuance,
Oh, yeah.
and fund other costs related or incidental to the issuance of the bonds and the related project. Do you feel confident that 3,500 would do that? for us?
3.5 is great. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, then I totally support this. It's something that we need, it's necessary. And there's no reason to put it off any further.
So if there are no public comments, I'll close the public comments. And then should we also, I mean, I'm in favor of the 30. It's in the spirit of putting the maximum. I mean, we could change it.
Yeah.
We just were looking for putting in the, you know, what.
No more than 30.
Right.
No
more
matter
than
what you do, you can't go more than 30,
Right.
but you can always go less.
30. Right.
And like I said too, maybe you don't finance all of the project. It's some other type of strategy financially and or construction wise that you choose. And again, if we remember, we were discussing this a lot, and I'm sure a lot of the community would like it, is to focus the lining during non-season periods of time. So it could be a multiple year project where we're just doing, you know, season to season. So you could probably do it in 2 seasons, or you can do it more or less, do it all in 1 season. And then get a couple mobilizations. All those options are still on the table.
So in the motion for this resolution, do you want us to specify the number of years to put in the referendum?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And it says described in resolution number, that's 23-031, the resolution that you're approving is the number that goes in there. Because it could have been put in there.
I move that we approve resolution number 2023-031 with a not more than 30-year payout.
I'll second.
Second,
Roll call?
Sure. Who seconded? Was it? Okay. Commissioner David,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Yes,
Commissioner Goldberg.
yes,
Commissioner Peters
Yes,
and Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on, B, ordinance number 2023-004. And this has to do with modifying the funding limitation that's currently in our charter. That's at 350,000 that was established in 1992 or 91. And increasing that limitation to 900,000 to account for 32 years of inflation, and then going forward, adjust by the regional consumer price index. So I'll open it up for discussion.
yeah, I can, I know it's gotta be raised. I was just curious. And, David, did anybody, ever figure with a cost of living what 350 would be back way when this was in with the cost of living, all the increases every year? The amount would be?
No, so what we did is we took it forward, right?
Okay.
And so, that's how we came up with our bottom line number there of $900,000. And it's also, you know, South Florida is traditionally a little bit more expensive
Right.
than the rest of the nation, you know, and so that's why using a US type of index didn't seem to meet our requirements for here in South Florida. And so at the end of the day, we moved it forward with that price index. We looked at every year, you know, certain years had low inflation, certain years had much higher inflation. We're definitely at the higher end of the scale right now. But yeah, so it seems reasonable. We can defend it as staff and as commission. You know, it's not a number we're making up. And so, and most successful towns and cities and countries, you know, they conduct their lives based on these regional indexes.
Did anyone ever consider the fact that we are supporting far more departments and projects than they did then? I mean, what, did we have our own water department in whenever this was?
Yes, we had a much less intense, we had traditional wells in a lower aquifer that's about, you know, 100 feet down versus the 12 to 1800 we have now to get into that Floridan aquifer. We weren't running a reverse osmosis plant. Library wasn't quite as robust. Again, I think we need to also consider moving forward. Now we're truly a full service community. Now that we're adding fire to the group. And I know I do recall the last time during the Charter Review Committee, when they had this discussion, they did spend a lot of time that we're doing more than we had traditionally done back when this was originally adopted in 92. We're a much larger community, greater scope of services, a series of legislative mandates that didn't exist now that exist today that we take care of. So we did have that conversation in the past, just that language, I think, just didn't sit well with the community from the last referendum. This seems to be more in line with what others were asking for, which I was able to confirm with some of those individuals. So,
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I agree that this is undoubtedly the way we should go. But I just want people to understand that everything that we do is bigger than it was. Our employees are far more in numbers. We are going to have to support a fire department as well. And all of these things wind up costing more money. We're gonna need an HR department, which we haven't in the past because we were small enough not to. But when you add an additional 26 or 30 employees for the fire department, that makes a huge difference. And so even though we're increasing the costs, we're not increasing the spending limit in conjunction with what we have to spend it on.
Yeah, you know, basically you can look at this, we're in essence, we're keeping the same 350, we're just indexing it, my first job was $3.50 an hour, right? And so, at the end of the day, unfortunately, that needed to be. You know, Right, I mean, that needed to be indexed, so this is, it's the same, we are doing the exact same thing. So, and as the town manager said, you don't want to go into emergency mode repairing. That's the worst case of most useless use of funds ever, is to run in that emergency type of mode. It will take out any sense of reserves that the town has judicially built up in good business practices and good governance. And so, yeah, this just keeps it at that pace.
Yeah, I think it's also a very foolish way to operate. If every time we need to spend more than $350,000, we have to have a referendum, which costs us, I think Linelda said, in excess of $60 to put $60,000 to put a referendum on the ballot. And the time, so you've got to plan a year before you want that referendum to actually be voted on. So you're now already late in doing your project.
Yep.
And that's a very foolish way to run a government.
I mean,
Yeah,
this, go ahead.
I would agree. I mean, for proper management, we need this. It's consistent with what the costs are today. I'm sure you can come up with a component that we would need in operating this government that would be in excess of 350,000. So, our town charter at section 2.0330 indicates anyway, if there was an expense, if there was any single project requiring an allocation of more than 900,000, we would have to come to the public with a referendum for that. So I think this is reasonable, appropriate, and I think that not doing it would not be in the best interest of the town.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is 1992. That's 31 years ago, 350. And I think this, as according, I think that's a fair number. And with all the inflation and everything. So I think this is a good number.
Yes, sir.
I'm also in total support. I think the reasoning is correct. And I think the verbiage as it was put to us now is understandable, simple, easy, and to the point. So yes,
You do want to say anything?
No?
Okay, no, I like it a lot. It is, I do like that it's very easy and understandable. That is a key piece, I think, to getting these referendums approved. I think that the 900 is in my opinion, it's a compromise. You know, I think we've each had feedback from, residents on what their preferences would be. And I think 900 represents what the feedback has been telling us. I really like the fact that it would automatically adjust according to the index. And talking to the town manager, the 900 is a reasonable number to get most of these projects done. There's, that those number of projects that are between 350 and 900, there's a good number of those. And so that will help us achieve this objective of getting our work done without having to go to referendum. And there's really more, the projects that are above 900 are really well above 900. For example, the sewer and some of the other projects that we are brainstorming about, those projects are like well over 900. So even if, I guess if I had my wish, I'd go to 1.25 or something like that, but there's really not a lot of projects between 900 and 1.25 to really squabble about. So I think from that perspective that we'll be able to get our work done with, this 900 limit. And we're really not missing out on, much above 900, even if we went to 1.5 or, there's not a lot of projects in there. They're really well above 1 million. So I think from that perspective, I am in agreement with it. And I also like that the verbiage of the referendum, we added that it was established in 1991 or 1992. I guess my question is the whereases in the I don't know how many people read them, but in case anybody reads them, can we add a whereas that says that the current 350 was established in 1991? Because the resolution.
Well, it's section 6, the ballot
So,
summary.
yeah, so see, it
does
never
say that.
actually, it says that
No, it does. It says
To account for the
interest
past
of the
30.
town to adjust the funding limitation of 350 set forth in the town's charter to 900 to account for the past 32 years of inflation.
So what I would like is to say that the 350 was, so I agree, to actually specify that that 350 was established in 1991. Because I think that just kind of is an additional, and I would almost even add a whereas, whereas the current limit was established 32, was in 1990. I just want to hammer home that this was done in 1991, like a long time ago.
Say it in the summary too.
It says it does. It does say it in a few
Yeah.
places, but I guess I'm asking if you could add, there are some other places where I think it could be added as well, just, which was established in 91 and 92. Okay. So by the time 2024 rolls around, it will be 32 years. So,
So,
so
to replace the 32 years.
no, I
with
would not replace it. No,
1992.
add it, just for emphasis.
well,
Just
okay.
say, the 350, which was established, because we have it in the referendum language. So the referendum language, we did add the words, that established in 92. I'm just asking in the whereas, in case anybody reads it. And we could also just add a whereas that says the 350 was established in 1992. So I'd like to open it for public comment. Okay.
Rick Greenwald, Bellito. I didn't comment on your previous one because fixing the sewers seems so obvious that it didn't deem it worthy of public comment. This one, I think, also should go forward as I believe you're prepared to do. This one's been obvious for a long time to, I think, pretty much anybody that follows what goes on in municipal government. The 350 is a totally inadequate figure for these days. We knew it was going to be problematic when this failed to pass, when the increase failed to pass at the last referendum. Since that time, it's already demonstrated itself to be problematic on multiple occasions and will continue to do so going forward. As I've made personally clear many times, this isn't my personal ideal solution, but I heartily endorse this as a very reasonable compromise for going forward. Well thought out, been discussed up and down, and I would certainly urge people in the community to support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have one thing to ask, just as to a conversation about this. In the referendum language that's set forth on the ordinance, the fourth line down, as to whether the funding limitation, I would like to suggest that we add before funding, the word annual. So they realize that this is annual.
Except it's not an annual funding limitation. It's a project limitation.
And we're just adjusting it annually. Well.
No, we're not
adjusted annually-
adjusting it annually. We're adjusting it, period.
No. It goes on that after that, it says with respect to the adjusting annually with the CPI.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it does
Well, then-
say and be adjusted annually on
Yes.
the top of 24,
Yes.
page 24,
Yeah.
and be adjusted annually thereafter. So I think maybe it does accomplish what you're saying. So if the voters were to vote this in the first year, it would be 900, and then June 2025 would be the first adjustment for the index, whatever that might
Mhm.
be. And then it would be 900 times that index. So 2026 is the limit, would be, yeah. Yeah. Which is really a great idea, so that we don't get stuck in this spot again. So, and a very easy, hopefully easy to understand. Seems very easy to understand. And I did reach out to a few residents, and the majority of them are in support of this. So,
Okay, in that case, I propose that we adopt ordinance number 2023-004 on the first reading with the addition of a whereas clause specifically stating that the $350,000 funding limitation was established in 1992.
The words I wrote, if you want to have them, make sure this matches. Whereas the funding limitation of $350,000 set forth in the town's charter of section 2.0130 was established in 1992.
thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
I second.
So we'll have a roll call. Oh. Okay. Okay, excellent. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, next item, ordinance number 2023-005. And this has to do with the Highland Beach Canvassing Board and giving the town commissioners of Highland Beach the discretion to designate by resolution the canvassing board to the Palm Beach County Canvassing Board. And this would happen during the uniform municipal elections. Now, I did reach out to a few people about this one, and everyone's in favor of it, it seems like. And I'd say some people were surprised that we even have to do a referendum for this. And I think the biggest risk on this one is people not understanding what it is that we're doing. Because people aren't expecting it. They would have thought this is the way it is.
Most people have no idea what
Right.
this is. And when you use the word canvassing, it sounds like you're taking a poll and going door to door and asking questions, which is not what it is. And yeah, we are one of two towns in Palm Beach County that have insisted on doing it ourselves as opposed to letting the supervisor of elections office do it, which makes no sense.
And another question, the way that it's written, is this resolution done
It's not
for
a-
every election that's upcoming? Or do you do a resolution and then it's that way until you change the designation?
As I read it, it'd be for every election,
It
you have
would
to
be
pass a
for every
resolution, like
election.
you have an election agreement, you would also say we're establishing the
Right.
county board to do this election. Because that's why it's the discretion. You can
Right.
say, nope, we're gonna do it this time, so.
For a municipal election. So,
Yeah.
And that's another point of clarity, which is extremely confusing. This, we only have this ability to be our own canvassing board when it is a uniform municipal election. When it's the primaries, we don't even have the option to be our own canvassing board. So it's only when there are elections, when it's not a primary. So even more confusing.
No, I think what it really is, we only get to canvass, meaning count votes or decide whether a vote is a good vote or not vote, if the only thing we're deciding on affects our town alone. That it doesn't affect any place else but us, which would be the March elections.
Correct.
Right, but and if we were to try to do something in November and there was a primary, like have referendum questions in November, we would not be able to be our own. Canvassing board.
Right.
So I think what's important about this one is, I don't know, try to be as clear as possible. I don't know if there's any suggestions to make it even more clear. Or I don't know, maybe this is something we, do the workshops for to try to help inform everyone.
Well, I think people think this is costing us, but it's not actually. They're picking up the tab. And we're saving money actually, so it's not costing us to do this. A lot of people tell me, well, it's gonna cost us money. No, it's not costing us any money. We're gonna save on salaries, on workforce here. So this is like a no-brainer actually.
That's a good point. Can we quantify the savings by doing this?
Wendy said there's no additional charge to the town because county people are already.
Right, right. But Commissioner
how
Peters
much-
makes a good point. How about the savings on the number of hours?
It's probably a couple
Per year.
$1,000s for
Yeah.
us to do each election, canvassing board, mileage, time, overtime, any other type of activities associated with it. The hardest part too, outside of the money savings, is that supervisor of elections says she's not doing it.
Right.
I don't know what we're gonna do, because if it doesn't pass and she's not doing it, I'm gonna leave it to legal to figure it out, because she says, no, I'm not doing it. You can't force me to do it. Well, that's true. We can't compel a constitutional officer to follow our charter. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a
And you're
catch
saying that,
22 of it, you know?
and you're saying that, Marshall, I don't know that it's clear to everyone because our charter specifies that the
Yes.
supervisor of elections needs to serve as the Highland Beach canvassing board. And she made a change recently and she won't. And so what's also in the charter is that a commissioner needs to sit on there and it needs to be a commissioner that's not up for elections. Well, Evelyn and I have been one that, has done this canvassing board. I'm up for election. So I mean, there's 3 out of 5 of us that are up for election. So I mean, that could be tricky sometimes. What if everybody was up for elections? Then you wouldn't even have a commissioner to be able to do it. So yeah, the way the charter is written is problematic, very problematic. So that would be helpful to make that more clear.
The things that just changed over all these years. I mean, when the charter was written, that was a different era.
Right.
Yeah, there wasn't
Right.
absentee ballots.
Yeah, all
Back when the
these
charter was written, it didn't exist.
And then the other point is the elections are public. People go, they observe them. It's very open. So that's another point. So even if, even if we chose by, had the discretion to designate, and we did choose that option to designate, we can still go and observe the supervisor of elections and be part of it. So I think that's another important piece.
Yeah, and people do go and they watch and they watch what ballots they're deciding on. You know, is this the right signature? Did they mean yes when they put no and then crossed it out? I mean, it's things like that really that you're determining. And you can watch them do it and you can actually challenge something. If you didn't like the way they came down, the public can in fact make it a challenge, which we saw done. But I understand people don't want to give up control. But by doing this, we aren't giving up control. We're retaining the ability to do it ourselves, but also having the ability to designate it.
So is it in the language that my fellow commission members, is it in the language that it's not clear that actually we're affording the town the discretion? Should that be a correction? Are you saying that the way it's written now, that it doesn't, that we don't have the clarity to let the community realize that it's not costing us any, it's not a burden on us, but rather it's relieving a burden?
I don't think changing the language, to be honest, is
It's
going to
going to
make
help.
any difference whatsoever.
So it's an
And,
education issue.
I mean, if you wanted to add
Yeah.
another whereas clause, it would be saving the town. You could
To
do
afford
that,
the town,
but
the
to be
ability.
fair,
Yeah,
how many people do you actually think read the whereas clause?
that's right.
And that's not going to appear on the ballot in any event. It will just be the ballot language. So unless they actively go into the website and look to see all the language, people who are going to do that have already been listening and should know what's going on.
Yes.
Reading those whereas clauses isn't going to change anyone's mind, I don't think.
But I support changing the whereas clause for the savings that the town would have. And then can you also add that the supervisor elections, like the current charter requires elections to participate, but she's decided she won't. Can you add that?
No, I
No,
wouldn't,
You
no,
can't do that? Okay.
because you're making a
Okay.
change to the charter and she could change her mind. And so you don't want something like that in the charter itself.
Oh, but how about as a whereas? I don't know, just putting, because right now it just, the whereas is just says it's like in the best interest, but there isn't a lot of, and I'm presuming that people read it, but I think this is one of the few opportunities where I think we need to take every opportunity we can to describe why it is what we're doing. So to the extent that I think savings is, people would grasp onto that, and the fact that we can't even fulfill our charter the way it's written. I don't know if there's a way to write that. So.
It's a tough story to tell.
Yeah, yes, yes.
And actually to expand on what Linelda said, the town canvassing board doesn't even look at ballots unless the county has spit them out. So we don't even see the ones that there's no question on. So they've already decided there's an issue. So let them decide whether it's right or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and typically it's very few. It's so few.
I don't know
So
if the
hope-
word does.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm in favor of this. I just think we need, to really help inform people to understand what this entails.
Did you want to add the whereas saving money?
I like
Because-
saving money and that the
because
current
we're-
charter can't be fulfilled,
So where I'd suggest it then is in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6th whereas. It says, where the town commission hereby finds is in the best interest of the town, comma, save the town money, comma, and serves the public health.
Can you say that the charter can't be fulfilled the way that it's written? Something like that?
I think,
Or no, is that too dicey,
I think that's a little,
aggressive? Okay.
thank you.
I think we also need, besides this, a list of talking points. So people understand a couple of points that you made are very good, a couple of points over here. I think besides the actual writing here in preparation, we also ought to have a list of the reasoning. Simple.
We can put together a cheat sheet for you all when you're in the public, maybe put in your pocket or something like that. And you can
Yeah.
be like, well, Canvas.
For all of them,
Yeah,
right? We
right.
could have our elevator pitch for all three.
Yeah, but we could put it on the website. We just can't mail it to the public. I can't put it in the
Mhm.
manager's minute. We can't distribute anything. So I can't even write in the manager's intro that I have to clarify that was done that can I write in the manager's minute that we've approved 3 questions and put the questions in? Okay, so I could tell them that there's questions and then they'd have to go to our website to learn more and that's it. Can't educate them on why we did it or how we got there, just that there's 1, 2, 3 questions.
Say, a commission passed an ordinance regulating XYZ. You're
Yeah.
saying the town commission. passed
I
an
just can't
ordinance,
educate
Right.
why your rationality, things of that nature cannot be communicated under state statute.
Unless you do it in the invisible ink.
I'd like to open it for public comments. Anybody want to say anything about this? Okay, seeing no public comments, go ahead.
Okay, I move that we adopt ordinance number 2023-005 with the amended whereas clauses.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next item, D, proposed ordinance and ordinance of the town commission amending the administrative amendments to the 7th edition of the Florida Building Code to update and amend the requirements for reinspection and recertification of existing threshold buildings. Building official?
Jeffrey Miss, building official, Town of Highland Beach. And the good news is, this will not require a referendum. So that'll be a little bit easier for everyone. This is actually, hopefully quite simple. There were some changes in state statutes over the past few months. And what had to happen is we needed to make some changes in our existing ordinance that we have in place for the recertification or the milestone inspection. And that's essentially all we were doing. There's not a whole lot, it's just some small verbiage changes. There was the addition of a definition for substantial structural deterioration. This way that makes it a little bit easier. There was some added language that we just tweaked on our own. And again, all this, we went back and forth. I went back and forth with Len Rubin on all of this stuff until we finally thought we have everything covered from the state statutes and a couple tweaks on our end. And that's about it. And one of the things that's on here that I do like is that we've been rather liberal with giving out extensions of time. And here it puts a little bit more information in there, basically, essentially saying, well, they have to show cause that they at least are under contract to get the work done or to get the engineer done. So it puts them in a position that they just don't need more time, that they're now they're obligated because they have a financial contract with an engineering firm.
And that's about it. So I think this is rather simple. It's something that we have to do in order to be compliant with state statute. And that's about it. So I'd recommend approval from staff. There's no fiscal impact on this one. And that's it.
Any discussion?
No, I think it's good though that you need a contract because I know in my building, we have a contract to work on the tower, but it's going to take anywhere from 18 to 24 months to do. So that would fall outside of time limits, other than the fact that we're actually doing the work.
That's correct. And with your particular building, you're already into the phase 2 section, which they're going to be rolling in. So that makes it a lot easier.
No, you're right. We have to coordinate with the state anyway, and there's no reason not to do this.
Any public comments on this? Okay, no public comments. Okay, no public comments, no more discussion. If we could have a motion?
Okay. Yeah, I move that we approve an ordinance for the town of Highland Beach, amending the administrative amendments to the 7th edition of the Florida Building Code to update and amend the requirements for reinspection and recertification existing threshold buildings and other buildings owned by a condominium or cooperative association, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability and codification, and providing for an effective date.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item is the consent agenda, which only has the October 3rd meeting minutes. Any discussion of the meeting minutes? If none, can we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move we accept the consent agenda.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item 10, unfinished business, fire rescue implementation update.
I will be providing the update fully today. Chief Joseph, along with the fire marshal are in interviews for our firefighter paramedics. So they've been busy recruiting. The captains have are finishing all their pre-employment physicals, background checks. Everything so far looks great, and we're excited that we'll be able to bring them on board. They're beginning phase 2 with our selected firefighter drivers. So they've all been selected on board, and we believe everything is in great shape there. And right now they're wrapping up this week all of the interviews with the firefighter paramedics. A few have dropped out, but everybody we're meeting so far, the team is telling me are high quality candidates, and we are in great shape moving forward. So the recruitment is going well. Construction, the mezzanine and bay roof concrete pour was completed on Monday. So everything as you go by each day gets a little bit more. Fireproofing of exposed steel is today. Second floor roof concrete is scheduled for tomorrow at 7:30. So there will be some concrete trucks going through. First floor framing next week. So we're really, the pace is picking up. So we're starting to really finish everything. Windows, doors, stucco exterior finishes done in about a week. The building's going to start transforming, folks. It's going to start looking like a fire station rather than a big concrete box. So that's great to hear. Emergency vehicles, again, punch list items on our brand new rescue, on all the painting, making sure that's in place. We did share that photo. We're excited about that. We're scheduling the delivery of the fire truck, which has been stored at the broker that we purchased it from. Basically has done all of the preliminary work, make sure the ladders, valves, all that stuff is in great working shape. We're going to take that to the delivery to the paint shop. They'll put all the decals, painting, things of that nature, and then we'll bring it back. Riviera Beach has graciously allowed us to store it in Riviera Beach. So thank you to the city of Riviera Beach for allowing us to partner with them and storing it, because otherwise we would have no place to store it until we go live. So I'd like to thank the city there, Jonathan Evans, the city manager, and his team. Thank you for that. So everything is going well. Again, on doing better than on budget, but on budget, on schedule, on time. Everything is right where we want it. We have it all delivered. Materials are all in. All the orders for some of the other items, all the direct purchasing we're doing is coming in on time. I couldn't be more excited. And again, we will, per our conversation, I will be meeting that next week, Monday, with Sam, our architect, to start kind of working on the concepts for the old fire station. So you all can start, designing that collectively as to what you want to see out of that space. And so hopefully we can take care of that following our go live date of May 1. Then we can move into tidying up the old station and then hopefully be able to communicate and roll out to the public, what we're planning to do with the old fire station in that space and kind of converting that into that community space that we can use for events and gatherings, things of that nature. That's it.
Very exciting. Any comments?
Great.
Great news. Thank you for the great update. Next item, Florida Department of Transportation, R project update.
They're gonna build it. They said they can't give me a schedule. I know that's what everybody wants to know. When are they gonna start? Where are they gonna be? How long is it gonna take? I keep asking that question. Brad and his team at FDOT says they're going out to bid in December. Once they select a contractor, the contractor in concert with FDOT will begin to build out that means and method schedule for the project. So until they obtain a contractor, we won't know the exact schedule. So we're kind of a little in the dark at the moment. But again, they're still aiming for a postseason start this year in this budget year. So basically spring of 24. I'm pushing them any far away from May. So hopefully after on May 1, they would look to mobilize, or maybe they start earlier with the items that don't obstruct flow of traffic, things of that nature during the end of season there. So they know that that's our goal, is to not start until season ends and then go from there. Shorter time frame, the better, but we're looking at 12 to 18 months. They can't tell us if they can compress it until they get a contractor, but we're asking them compress that schedule as much as possible. That's it.
Great. Next item, Building Department Recertification Program update.
Well, more good news. We're right now at 100% compliance with all of the buildings that are due at this time. There are about 15 buildings that aren't due yet. But we still have 16 buildings that asked for an extension that was given out. So we're gonna have a very busy November, December, because those 16 are all due in November and December. And other than that, everything seems to be going rather well. It apparently works really well when I mention the name of a building. So I do have to get some paperwork from 45 Ocean. They're doing a great job with the restoration. We have a little paperwork lag there, so we've been doing some follow-up with them. And other than that, we're plowing straight ahead, and I'm hoping that all 16 buildings that have asked for extensions will meet those deadlines in November and December. But it looks like we're having some complaints, and I don't know if you're hearing any complaints, but things seem to be going rather well right now.
Any
Well,
discussion?
Well, I thank you. I know that my community appreciates extensions. And I think the ability of our town to do that, to work tightly with them, with all the communities that have to do the recertification is wonderful.
It's working.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And you're right, it does. When you hear your name mention your condo, you start to worry. And I'm glad you're having good results. Thank you.
Seems to be moving along the way we expected it to. So thank you. It's always nice when a plan comes together.
Sounds very good. Thank you.
Thanks for the update, Jeff.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you, and for your support and putting this together, and I'm sure Doug is really happy right now that this is working.
Okay, next item is the continued discussion of Milani Park. The purpose of this item is for us to strategize on how to best oppose the park. I think this is one item that an overwhelming majority of the people are on the same page, which is to oppose the park. So I was thinking we could, discuss maybe some next steps. And I guess, one overwhelming thing that we've discussed here is, seems that Commissioner Woodward, is convinced that she has support of the residents. And I think one thing that, perhaps we need to make very clear is that the majority, overwhelming majority are not in support of the park. And so, I was actually talking to State Representative Peggy Gossett Seidman, and I thought she had a really good idea, which is to, get a petition and have people, residents, as many people as we could to sign it. And she and a number of others, I've received emails about it, has to do with going to the county board meetings like we did for the fire rescue. Marshall organized at that time, and I think a lot of us were on that bus. He organized transportation for us to go to a county meeting where they were discussing the fire rescue for Highland Beach. And so suggestions have been to do something like that again and have several residents present to the entire board, not just Commissioner Woodward, how we feel, how the residents feel about the park. There's been, some other ideas. So I guess I thought we could open it up for discussion, ideas, and, maybe, discuss it and then maybe talk about, firm up some next steps. So I guess I open it up. I don't know if anybody else wants to start.
No, I'm just saying, I agree with you. I think everybody should be calling up. I think Marcy Woodward, she thinks this is okay. And I guess she's new, just first got elected. And when I talked to her people this morning, they think this is good that they're doing the lesser phase, I guess, just the path going in and a parking lot. And I said, what about the artifacts? And she said, well, if we don't want to put a path in, we're not disturbing the ground, so we don't have to do anything. So I said, well, you got District 4, which is Highland Beach, and I don't think anybody is for this Milani Park. And I said, you better, help us. But I think it's a good idea, maybe in all our condos, we can put petitions and start getting signatures. And I think this is a good first step to do it. And I think let's roll the buses out and go to the county.
I think before they decide that it's okay to put a walking path above artifacts, they might consult the Indian tribes as to how they feel about that. They might not be quite so complacent. I also was brought to my attention, and I can't swear to the verification of this, that in fact Ocean Ridge Park has had many problems and that the police have just given up because it's impossible to enforce. So while, no one is complaining to the police anymore because they know they're not going to do anything, but that doesn't mean that there haven't been security issues and trash issues and all other kinds of things for the people living next to that park. So I think that needs to be taken into account too, because the county is trying to say, oh, look how well this is working. Well, not so fast and not so much. I have major security issues concerning it. And I have major issues with trash collection and having enough garbage cans even, or stopping trespassers. I think some of the private homes along there are going to have issues during the summer or during season if they're not there, where people will just walk in. Some of our condos which have people there, so they will know if somebody comes in is one thing. But if you've got a house that backs up on the ocean, how do you know if somebody, unless you've got alarms that are going off every time somebody walks up on your patio or to your pool, how do you know what's happening over there? There are a lot of dead areas back there, particularly at night. And it's easy to say, oh, it's dusk to dawn to dusk. Good luck enforcing that. So to have rules and regulations that you can't enforce is useless. And to me, there's a lot of issues. A lot of issues.
Well, I'll address, Commissioner David, I totally agree with everything, that you've said. And with regard to the last thing, as far as the Ocean Ridge, I think we should make inquiry to the police department. I mean, there could be incidents reports, maybe not any arrests or any, but there should be an incident report if they went out. And perhaps contact with the board, with their commission rather, to see what their experience has been.
Well, I think I don't think at this point, because that park has been there for a while, going to the police is going to do any good because our police chief and inspector did contact theirs. But if it's been going on for a while and people have stopped reporting because they know nothing's gonna happen, we need to talk to the homes near there and to the buildings near there. Because they're the ones who can tell us if there's a problem.
So what do you recommend then? I mean, would we actually be going or appoint someone to do an investigation?
Well, I think the first step would be to talk to whatever buildings are right near there.
Well, I'm really concerned about the security issues and the trash. If there's any way, I mean, as attorneys, we think of litigation or what we do, discovery, but to really dig into it and to see what has happened in other communities. Also, I wanted to address another thing, whatever they say about a smaller footprint and to avoid any remains, they're going to be okay with this. The fact is that would be a redo of an agreement. And under those terms, doesn't necessarily mean that they had a whole litany, a checklist of what they had to do before they even had the ability to build in compliance with the judgments. So, that should be addressed. Organizing, I think, is really important. I'd love to see us putting out, gathering up the necessary people, have a bus, one or two, if we need it, to go to any county meetings that we're sure that comments will be received. And that perhaps our mayor can take the podium. Yeah. And that would also spur a press, I would hope.
Right.
But public awareness. The petition is crucial. I think that's
is.
great. So I'd like to, that I think we can move forward with. But the question is, what are we saying on this petition? I
We
address
are
it to
opposed
legal.
to the erection and completion of constructing Milani Park.
Yeah. So,
Just put a big no.
yeah, I mean, something simple and then what do we do with the petition? Now we have a lot of paperwork, a lot of signatures. What do we do? with
Well, I
it?
think the point of it is to show the lack of support for the park, because one major concern is Commissioner Woodward thinks she has support, and I don't know what the other county commissioners think. So the petition, hopefully showing thousands of names on it. I don't know how many people are willing to sign.
Right.
And then many of us going in person, the combination of those two things would make it overwhelmingly clear that there is no support, for the park.
That's great. So you gave the answer. We take the petitions. Now that we want to, what's a time frame? But we take the petitions, and one of the places that we produce it is at the county meetings.
Right. It's for them. It really is for them.
So and then we're supposed to have a meeting in our town, correct?
Well, we can talk, if we all want to do this meeting idea, I guess my question there, the upcoming meetings, they actually coincide with our meetings. And I wasn't sure when is it can we only present this during matters of the public? Do we ask for an agenda item to be put on their meeting?
So strategically, I have a couple of recommendations
I'd like to hear
for
it.
the community. The petition and the spirit and energy should be a stakeholder group of residents, not Highland Beach. As a governmental unit, we will help, of course. We will be here every step of the way. But that community uprising and swelling of opposition to the project is what needs to occur rather than us saying we will support it with actions of the commission. But a group of residents that are a stakeholder need to get that petition out, grow the energy behind the opposition. Because you're going to be entangled with administrative and contractual and legal elements related to this. So you want to kind of separate the two, that we're not doing what's going to be the community energy at the same time we're trying to take strategic, legal and administrative steps. They kind of both have to happen at the same time, which is kind of, threading the needle, if you will. But I would encourage listeners and those out there to form a stakeholder group to do this, to move the needle on this. I don't know that I would go to the county commission or deliver a petition until after their public meeting, because if we got to play this, if I was in their shoes, I would say, let's just have the public meeting first and let us describe it before you come after us on the project. Let's follow that public hearing process where they want to present what they want to do. I think they'll get a really good idea of our feelings at that meeting. Because it's going to be the first weekend in February. So we can communicate that, and we will over and over and over again. So you all know that to be here, February, is it 2nd? First, so date, tie down, start emailing that out and put it on our weekly news blast that, hey, don't forget, mark your calendars. So I think that's where I think that first connection, because this project's kind of sat idle for a while. If you really look at all of the documents. Nothing's really happened since 2010. It's just been sitting for about 12, 15 years now, kind of.
But they
Not-
sent you a letter. They sent you a letter saying they're going to initiate the permitting and designing. You don't think that we should go to like one of their November or December meetings?
I wouldn't, because they're going to tell you that, one, they're not going to, you can make public comment at any point in time. I wouldn't prohibit a community group from doing it, us facilitating it, because they're going to say, hey, we're having a public meeting where these folks get an opportunity to talk to us about it. And then it becomes Commissioner Woodward at her next meeting's got to communicate back what happened in her district along with the parks director. They like to probably just file something in reading received and filed. That's the meeting following it that you begin to your strategic step of trying to oppose and stop the project is after, because they're not going to put you on the agenda. Because if they said, hey, we're coming in February, we told you guys we're coming in February, let's talk then. I think then you start taking those next steps thereafter. So that gives us, the community, gives us 3 or 4 months to gather ourselves, form that group, start to get, as folks come back in for season, let them know what's about to happen. I can communicate this in the town manager's minute, the website, like, hey, this is all the stuff. My new research assistants here, Dr. Greenwald's been helping move through some of this stuff. So we could start getting the documents out, kind of let people read it for themselves to see what's going on and then have that group. So I think the petition and that energy needs to come from the community commission to support it, of course, but it needs to come from that grassroots, has to come from the community. And you could just making suggestions, okay? But I would wait till after that public meeting, because they're gonna say, we're having a public meeting. Wait for the public meeting,
So one concern about me waiting that I heard was that the county parks and recreation would be too far along in their process of developing. It's not too late to wait till February, I guess is the concern.
They said, if I recall from me, it's a couple years for them to go through the design. Again, there's a series of steps they have to go through. They can't just not complete the archaeological review, things of that nature. You know, we may want to, because we have the option to hire our own archaeologist to look through this. Maybe that's a step we do in the meantime, which is our only option under this settlement agreement where we get to do anything. They can design whatever they want unless it's exactly to that agreement. It's going to require this commission to agree to it and amend it. So we still have a strength of position if we want something less. So the danger would be, they say, well, you guys aren't going to be agreeable. We're going to build the whole thing, which I don't think they really want to do. Because as they indicated, some of it's outdated, but they have to have an attendant at a gate. They have to have a bathroom, a lifeguard. They have to do a lot of the trash. There's a lot they have to get us to agree to outside of the full scope. We don't want the full scope at the bare minimum, but all this stuff has to shake out. I would think, getting an archaeologist, maybe a special counselor, no offense, Glenn, I think maybe we get
Environment.
our own attorney that does things like this, or lobbyist, or somebody in that wheelhouse, maybe to help put this together a bit for you all.
Yeah, that was another suggestion. I think
Yeah.
that's good.
I think it's more than just the environmental. I think it's the project in its whole, if we're gonna try to poke holes or try to build this strategic partnership, we're gonna be running folks with a lot of emotion, right? That blinds a lot of us. We are gonna be the emotional group here. The county is gonna be very aloof, removed, not against them. They're just a big agency covering a very big county, and this is a very small project for them. For us, this is the biggest project we've had, and you name the number of years outside of fire was probably monumental as well. And we don't have much right here because they've already settled it in the court. So those are things that we should do as like a prelim to that
Yes.
outreach meeting, maybe get someone, see if there's some folks that could help us, bring them on board. You all get to meet, get them on board, help kind of move that project forward or our position in there, because it's going to be tricky.
I think hiring our own archaeologist is a great idea. I think let our archaeologists contact the various Indian groups who would be involved. Because to be honest, I'm not sure I trust the county to actually do it. Particularly if they think they have support for this idea, why would they bother? The report that they had is old and maybe opinions have changed. It's not even changed. They did say they found mounds. So there are archaeological things down there. And there has been a lot of uproar recently about disturbing cemeteries in various different parts of the country and not respecting cultures and not respecting things that have been done by people in this country. And I think that's a big deal. I don't know that putting a pathway over burial mounds or archaeological mounds is going to be acceptable today. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it might have been, but I don't think it is today.
Yeah, and if you, and again, as we've posted out, we got a copy of the purchase agreement. And if you look at one of the opening statements in the purchase agreement, the second whereas clause is special archaeological and geological value. So when they purchased the property, the county recognized that it has these archaeological values inherent in the property when they made that acquisition. So again, the county said they're comfortable with that they could put a path through. They're totally comfortable. So those are the things that we, and again, we have the ability to counter their archaeologists and hire our own. We have that ability under that settlement agreement. If we look in there to do that, those are reasonable things we need to take. And again, that is that, threading the needle is going to be quite tricky because, beyond Milani Park, and I hate to say there is anything beyond that because it's such a big issue, we're still doing a fire. We still rely on the county. We have to be careful that to express our opinion strongly and strategically without looking like we ruin potential other partnerships. It could happen. We can manage it, but we want to make sure we do that just the right way so it doesn't come across it poorly. I mean, it probably that they won't welcome our pushback, but
But we
Yeah.
need to have independent data to back up
Sure.
our argument.
and that's all reasonable because of the
So that
concerns
it's-
expressed. Yep.
Yes, it's without emotion involved.
Mhm. I think that's where the commission needs to stay. The emotion can be from the community. That's the perfect spot for that grassroots movement that not only are they gonna have to deal with, five of you have to deal with that, right? How do we handle our residents and their emotions and concerns and strong opinions on this matter? And even some living immediately adjacent, even has stronger opinions you'll hear in the hallway. So, I mean, these are things that we, I think we need to, look at some of those strategic steps and slowly start moving to that. And see, it's gonna be interesting, folks. I tell you.
Yeah, I'm in favor of, the specialized attorney who would hire the archaeologist, do this, do that in a strategic way and could advise us on the best ways, because
Yeah.
I don't really know.
If I could piggyback on what Marshall's saying and build on everything he's saying is absolutely right on. Just like you have a lobbyist for the state, and that person was very helpful. That may or may not be the same lobbyist for the county, because there are different folks that lobby different organizations. So I think maybe we look at who are some of the more effective lobbyists in the
Sure.
county, because this is going to be a purely political issue. And we can gather the facts that we're going to need. But at the end of the day, I've learned you want to put yourself on the other side's shoes, right? So you know how to deal with them. And we've met with the county staff, and I think their position is that they have a generalized want for beachfront property. That's their mantra. They love having public access beaches. So this is important to them. I think when we met with their previous director at the park department, this was kind of their jewel. They spent money for it. They planned on it for years. Now, I think we were successful in backing them down to a much smaller, almost postage size stamp park than what they had considered. Not that that's appropriate, but it's better than what we had. So we're going to go to them, and they're going to probably take the position. This is our master plan. This is important to the county as a whole. We have community parks, public parks from Jupiter down to Boca. And why should you be exempt? Everybody needs to allow the public access to beaches. That's going to be their overriding theme. So think about that. Think about how you deal with that. Having a lobbyist who knows those commissioners, because, generally the county, much different than a city commission where you represent the entire town. They represent districts, just like our state representative have different districts. So our resident commissioner is going to have a lot of sway with our colleagues. She is the key. If she strongly opposes this, then the chances of winning gets a lot slimmer. If we can get her to the point where she's supportive or at least neutral, then you've got a much better chance. And so think politically, who are her supporters, right? Who's contributed to her campaigns? I mean, just lay it out there that this is a political battle. Don't think you're going into this and you're going to win this because of emotion, because the county sees emotion at every commission meeting, whether it's the folks out in the Western community that don't want truckers or the people, wherever, everybody has their emotion. But think about it, and the lobbyists is very important. Our state reps, Peggy Gossett-Seidman, is there a role she plays in this? Does the delegation play a role in that? So again, these are all strategic, and I agree with Marshall. Just to go down there and talk in the public comment, that's going to mean nothing to them, nothing. But a concerted effort where you're like the tip of the spear and you're going in there with your forces, no pun intended, marshaled, and you're ready to go forward, then you have a much better chance.
And
So-
I think we need to do it from different angles. I think we need to get different groups involved. Like we need to get in people who are involved in the idea that there's a coral reef there that needs to be protected. And so we need people who know about that. We need to get perhaps some of the people involved with turtles, because it's one thing to have people who live there and you say, look, don't go here because this is a turtle nest, that's a turtle nest. It's something else to expect people coming from far away to respect the idea that this is a turtle nest. And if they don't live near the beach, they may not even know what those markers mean. So you may find that they're disturbing what we have been trying to protect. And yeah, I mean, we don't want to attract critters with excess garbage, which can be a real problem because when you live on this part of the beach, nobody is dropping their garbage. This is their backyard. And people in fact pick up garbage that comes in. But if this isn't where you live, go to any of the other public parks and you'll find trash cans overflowing. Especially after a nice weekend where everyone is out and they have to bring everything with them because there's no place to buy anything, which means everybody has to have a picnic basket and they have to have blankets and they have to have whatever else it is that you bring to the beach
With no restroom. With no restroom.
with no restroom. Absolutely, with no restroom. And maybe people are not going to stay on that path across down to the beach when they come up to a wooded area. You know? I mean, I think that there are problems in there. And while I don't want to encourage the county to build a restroom, I think you have to, if you are going to attract people there, other than people who live right here, then you have to think about that. Because they want to have someplace for people of the county to go. And I understand that. But it's not like they have a lack of public beaches. I know for sure there's in Boca, where there are other places that are more amenable. Most of the public beaches in Boca and in Delray, there aren't people living next to them. So you're not invading a community, invading is not the right word. You're not having a potential disruption for a community. It's all beach. And if you walk down a little bit and you're on Delray's public beach as opposed to the county's public beach, no one's gonna say anything because it's still a public beach. I mean, I'm sure that there are people who can look at this from many more angles than I have thought of, which is why we need to bring in specialists who can come up with other arguments and come up with facts that we can say, look, there's this and this and this and this. Never mind the fact that people don't want it. That's in a whole separate category.
Yeah, maybe they'd have opinions on what would work, because certain things may work and may carry more weight and some wouldn't. Like, I mean, I personally think, you know, you said the county has a goal of providing so much beach. There's that comprehensive goal, but I mean, there's other really important things like, you know, maybe, you know, that's very expensive land. If they could sell that land, buy something, you know, less expensive and really build a much bigger community center that would impact many more families than a 40 parking spot beach, which is half a mile from another very, you know, nice beach with amenities. Or I don't know if it's even possible. I mean, I keep saying over and over how affordable housing is such a crisis. I mean, what if they sold that property and if they could somehow apply it to affordable housing, you could impact so many more families in a much more meaningful way than have a park that has no amenities. I mean, I think an attorney or whatever, a specialist could really help.
Also,
All those are good messages, you know, environmental messages, turtle net messages, using the funds that they could recover on a much bigger scale, help many more people. Those are all good messages that
also, do we know how much the county parks are used? Are they overwhelmed
they're
or
pretty
are they
busy.
underutilized?
I think they'll, they're probably pretty high usage, especially their beach. Like if you go to South Inlet's usually pretty busy. Blowing Rock's pretty busy. Hammock Park, not so much.
I was gonna say, if you're talking about making another park like one that isn't used, that's just down the road. Once you're in your car, you're in your car. So to go to Hammock Park or to come here, for most people wouldn't be a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And if it's not used, and if what they're saying is they're going to hide in this, basically, the parking lot and have just a small entrance into where the beach is, people aren't gonna see it anyway. I have driven down A1A looking for Hammock Park and I haven't found it. So if people can't find it, they're not going to use it. And they could sell this property and repair the road that people in the west of the county have been complaining about, that needs to be repaired and redone. That isn't a state road, it's a county road.
Yeah, there's a lot
Let
of
them
competing-
do that.
There's a lot of competing priorities. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, are we all in agreement about hiring a specialist
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
this? I mean, is that
Yes,
the
I'm
next
in
step?
agreement.
Yeah, I think we got all that letter from our resident, I guess I got his name Jeffrey. And he suggested that, and I
Yeah.
think all the people out there don't want this park.
Right.
And they'd be willing to spend a little money
Yeah.
to prevent this.
Yeah.
I like his idea. He says, well, the coral, the coral will cut people when they swim there and everything. It's really unsafe. But I like his no parking park, his plans where he just puts a retaining on the parking lot for the water retention center for the water, and then build a walking park in there so residents can use it. And I don't know if that will fly, but he's got some ideas, comes up with them.
But it sounds like our main
yes,
strategy
get-
is to
yep.
hire some sort of consultant or specialist attorney or whatever you would call that professional
Or
that would help us.
combination thereof.
kinda-
Yeah.
Yes,
That could help
I
us.
agree with that. All of the
Yes.
above.
All
Yeah.
above.
Yeah.
So that's something you could take.
I,
on.
I will commence
We
immediately.
got the question out there.
So we
Oh,
will.
and if we could have any public comments, you want to come on up?
Yeah.
Apologies, this will probably be somewhat disorganized, but two things. One, if you all haven't read the documents that Marshall was able to come up with, everybody should become at least somewhat familiar with the 42 things that are already in the agreement after the lawsuit that the town had with the county and so on and so forth. Because a lot of what was talked about is in there and has to be provided, or the agreement has to get redone. Since I've been living in Highland Beach for 26 years now, and the attitude has always been just say no when it comes to the park. It's my impression that at this juncture, we can continue if we want to just say no. And there are a lot of arguments that have been raised already and were brought up today that are part of the just say no thing. I mean, people can get cut up on the rocks. It's not very wide. We don't have room for that much parking. Whole bunch of things that everybody, the turtles, everybody's mentioned. The problem is, and I haven't been to any of the meetings with county representatives, so I have no insider information at all. Some of you have been involved and know a lot more than I do. But from what's been publicly stated here, at least, it seems like they're getting past that, and the NIMBY, not in my backyard, it's gonna raise crime. How sad for the turtles, all this kind of stuff, which is fine. We should be making those arguments. But at this point, I think they're only gonna get us so far because, well, I haven't seen this in the actual agreements. It's my impression that the county is at the point where they have to fish or cut bait with this park. Or they're at the last 5-year extension. And at this point, they either have to make a park out of it, or they have to sell the land, whether that's back to the Milanis, who have rights of first refusal, or to a developer, presumably. I don't know what the land's worth. Somebody could throw out a guess, 20 million, 25 million, I don't know, some real amount of money. So the argument that the mayor just alluded to at the very end of your discussion, I think is one that holds a lot of potential. And that argument is basically not that there should be, that there are better uses for this land, namely converting it into money that could be of much greater value to many more residents of the county than making a small sort of marginal beach park in Highland Beach. Because there's plenty of public beaches. Highland Beach residents already have access to beaches through private beach access. The large community just to the south of us, Boca Raton, has literally miles of beach, not 300 feet of beach. The community immediately to the north of us, Delray Beach, also has miles of beach, not 300 feet of beach. And that the 20, 25 million, whatever that number is, I don't know what it is, that's realized could be put to much better county use. And particularly in service of some residents in the county that may be much more underserved than the residents in the immediate vicinity of Highland Beach. And whether that money goes to more ball fields or recreation areas or rec centers or whatever it is. There are probably, we could argue, I think, effectively, and possibly get some external support, because there got to be groups out there who've been lobbying the county for years, like, why can't we get some basketball courts in our town, or whatever. To make more constructive, if you will, alternative arguments that I think could hold much greater sway. If I were a county commissioner, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, you've got these privileged people in Highland Beach, now they don't even want a little park there, I mean, give me a break. Whereas I think that it might have much broader appeal and valid appeal to be able to take a significant sum of money and repurpose it for greater good, even within the Parks Department of the county, even within our commissioner's district, but not right here. So I think those would be avenues that I would really seriously consider pursuing. I don't think that you just say no type. Again, the arguments are fine. I mean, everything. I don't know that it's going to hold sway. I don't think it can hold sway, because I think the county, and I haven't seen the exact deadline, but I think from what we've been told is they're on their last 5-year extension, and then it either, I don't know what happens, whether it reverts or they have to sell it or whatever, but they have to do something with it. I would try, rather than to just say no, I would. And again, once that's done, if we're quote successful, then we have to realize that development is going to go in there based on the rules. I mean, I know the people living right there would rather have nothing. I mean, I get that. But if that's no longer an option and the commission decides, the town decides that we'd rather have development according to the zoning rules and agreements that have previously been made, which will benefit the tax base, et cetera, rather than a public park in that area, then I think that the avenue to pursue is largely county commissioners. There are much better uses for this land and for the money that it can generate that would benefit way more residents of this county than putting a small, very limited in scope park with 40 parking spaces in an area that's surrounded by public beaches. So I would tend to look into that approach. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. And just a point of clarification, they sent us a letter, and doesn't that start some sort of clock? I thought they had to do something within 2 years or something.
Correct. So basically, they had in 20, I think it's in January of 25, they could issue their last 5-year extension. But instead of doing that, the county administrator has issued a letter saying they are moving forward with the park. That's how we got here. And this is, it's kind of ginned up our energy a bit is they've said, we're moving forward with the park. county commissioner said, hey, but we like the idea of a less use or a more passive park in lieu of this more extensive park, and we think it would be a better fit for you to go with the lesser park. That's basically their argument, but they've indicated, here we go. So they have to start over the next 2 years, taking those steps, and I think they have a certain window, whether it's 2 years from that or 2 years from whatever, but they have to start to submit for a building permit or take noticeable, meaningful action. Right? They can't say, we're gonna build it and then just sit back for 7 years. They
Right.
have to,
It's a
they're building, it's
2-year
like 2 years.
It's a
I think
2-year.
you're right, in the agreement, it's like 24 months, they have to, start the project, meaning then
After
like start
notice.
digging, moving, that kind of stuff. So we've been notified they're building a park. And we'll try to point that out. We'll try to craft a web page with these documents so everybody can, dig in and see what's meaningful. And again, I think getting a specialist maybe to help us craft our argument, work the district rooms. That's how we got fire. I don't know that I'm your best advocate at this point. They're a little mad, but we need to get out into those other districts. I think Dr. Greenwell made a good point. What's in it for them kind of thing? I think they need to see the value to their district as well. Again, it's a great investment they made, whether it's the 2.1 or the 3.9 million that you see in the agreement or whatnot. Yeah, I mean, they could really make a great investment on that. And you're right, they continue to make arguments for these greater needs that we all see, all of us see. They need other things in this county to be taken care of. Boy, they just approved a bond issue to generate 250 million. Imagine if they could generate 10 to 15% of that on a single sale of a small marginal, that's a good word, park that they want to build.
That the residents don't even want.
Yeah, I mean, hey, here's some additional money to leverage for this workforce housing, to leverage affordable housing, which is gonna take, I don't know that you could generate enough money to build the amount of affordable housing we need. But that is really our biggest community issue. I just soapbox, I'm sorry. But that's a big issue that everyone recognizes.
And it seems bigger than having enough beach for, I don't know, in my opinion.
Right.
So, okay, so we have,
So I will start the process. I will look into who's available, who's out there, who's got a good reputation, and maybe set up some one-on-one meetings. This is a specialized service. So we're not caught up in CCNA and stuff like that. So we have the flexibility where you could pick somebody you want through a more informal solicitation. Doesn't have to be sealed bids and stuff like that. We could find somebody that does this, that's a good reputation, well-mannered, respectable. You all can meet one-on-one and move that needle, if you will.
perfect. And we have this as a standing item on each agenda, so we'll this.
Yep,
continue
and I
this.
would just, because the formality, if you wouldn't mind, a motion for me to go get a special project consultant lobbyist to help us with this, I think would be meaningful to me to make sure we're taking the right steps.
I move that you go and hire a special project coordinator who will bring in all the necessary personnel to determine what is the best use of that property for the most people in our county.
Second,
Do you want a roll call or do you want to, let's do a roll call. Let's do a roll call. Go ahead, do a roll call. It'll be more emphasis.
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg,
yes.
Commissioner Peters,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Yes.
and Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you for the direction. I'm on it.
Next item, new business. Item A, approve and authorize a right-of-way permit for KMV Fiber Telecom Incorporated to bore fiber optic communication cables under A1A, starting at 4713 South Ocean, ending on 4800 South Ocean.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Commissioner. Pat Rowan, Town of Highland Beach Public Works Director. Just asking for a permit. We're doing some directional drilling. It's very common. So just asking for permission.
I have a question. So it's for fiber, like, is it gonna give us more people, more options
It's
for
part of the whole
iFiber?
big project
Okay.
where they're putting
Okay.
in, just going to other.
No, I can. Boca Highlands has had Comcast for Wi-Fi and some telephone and various things. They have in fact decided to go with Blue Stream instead. And a lot of the wiring for cables is very old. So what they're doing is, as I understand, they're bringing in fiber optic cables to improve all communication. Because Comcast is dreadful.
So that should be a good improvement.
Yeah,
For the residents.
Absolutely.
Great. Any discussion?
No,
Okay, so we have a motion.
I move that we approve the right-of-way permit for KMB Fiber Telecom Inc. to bore fiber optic communication cables under A1A.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Town Commission comments, Commissioner Goldberg, do you want to begin?
Well, I think we really accomplished a lot. Feel very gratified in the discussion today with Milani Park. I think that we really move forward with that, and we have a really good preliminary plan. And I thank the commission and the public watching. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to mention that Thursday night, we had a service for Israel. Thanks to Father Horgan and Marshall helped put it together, and Vice Mayor Stern got his rabbi that came. We had like 200 people there, and it was great to see everybody come together, and it was a great event. Thank you.
Commissioner.
I want to thank Dr. Greenwald. I think that your perspective on Milani Park is excellent. And if we want to get backing from the rest of the county, we have to show them that they are going to benefit more by not having a park or a beach than by having that little piece of beach. So thank you. I think it was a great idea. And I think the idea of having that prayer vigil for the victims in Israel was an incredible, wonderful community event, and I thank everybody involved.
Vice Mayor Stern?
I guess that pretty much took my comment. However, what I'd like to add to that is both the rabbi, the father, and everyone built a great relationship and to do further things together in the future, which is a great thing for everybody. And the town was wonderful in hosting this. In addition, we received just yesterday the $5,000 check that the church donated to the temple to give to Israel. And again, that's a real nice show of support, and it's just great to see. So thank you.
Yes, thank you to Father Horgan, St. Lucie Church and the town for putting on the vigil. It was really excellent, a very heartwarming, and it's good to see something positive come out of such a horrible event. And then I was looking at the Palm Beach County website and looking at upcoming meetings, and I noticed Jeff Remus's name was on there, and he's being appointed to the Construction Industry Licensing Board for a 3-year term, I guess, ending. And you're filling a required spot on that board, which is for a full-time building official that's employed by a local government. So thank you for serving on that board. That was like a
Thank you,
pleasant
Jeff.
Thank you.
surprise. Highland Beach is what do you always say, a small town with big
Smallest big city in South
smallest big
Florida.
city in South Florida. Yeah. So that's really cool. Thank you for representing and participating in that board. I know you will do good things. And town attorney, anything? No. Town manager.
Yes, I want to echo the sentiment, Father Horrigan, I know you're going to watch, so thank you. Means a lot to the community. As a parishioner, it means a lot to me, to take that stand. So, I thought it was a wonderful event. That Cantor, tell him he's great. Got great pipes. I thought it was a beautiful event. I know I talked to folks, it was great to see an interfaith event. I thought it was great. Hadn't seen that here, so that was good to see. Really pulls the community together. And I thought we got some legs out of it in that partnership. Commissioner Peters and I kind of cornered him at the end and he agreed. I'm looking up at the camera for Father Horgan. That maybe we're gonna reach out to set up a meeting and see if we can't have an event at the church during construction. So we normally have our food truck events out in front. That's all tied up under construction. He agreed that it would be kind of a neat to have the event at St. Lucie Church. So kind of to have the light up the holiday concept, the food trucks at the church, better site, better flow, more parking. So I was excited that he was willing to give us this opportunity and partner with us and could continue to bring the community together, during these trying times and with the times coming with Milani Park, things to bring us together. That community building, we seem to do a really good job with when we have these opportunities. So we've reached out and hopefully Teresa and I will be meeting with him and kind of get the planning together and keep that event going.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
so
excellent.
let me know if there's a concern you have, but I think it would be a great event. To keep those going. I don't want to lose that energy that we had from those food truck events. And again, we probably won't be able to have another one, gosh, for another year on site. So it's good to create this partnership. So got your direction on Milani Park too. We'll get moving immediately. We'll start working with folks and when you have that opportunity to see an elected official, take that moment to talk to them. The Florida League of Cities has those monthly meetings. I would encourage us, maybe we start going a little more often, all of us. I'm just as guilty. To start meeting with and networking with our partners, communities that aren't us, that need things. When we hear them talk, when you go to these luncheons and network, they'll say, boy, I've been working on the county for this or that. You can be like, well, if they sold the park here, they could come up with this big chunk of money to work on. So those type of opportunities exist. But yeah, so again, thanks St. Lucie Church, Temple Sinai, thank you. I thought that was great. Beautiful event. Let's keep it going. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, it's 3:33 and let's adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.